Idaho and United Action for Idaho.
So I may be a bit taller than Stan, so I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to be a little bit loud, right? Because we have an audience downtown, and we want them to all hear our message, right? So, this is not a normal crisis. It's not just a political crisis. It's not just an economic crisis. It's not just a climate crisis. We are in a crisis of civilization, from the top to the bottom across Western civilization. And the attacks on our environment and the attacks on our people are unprecedented in the moment that we stand today. How many of you ever hear somebody say, I just don't do politics? Yeah. Here's the reality. You may not do politics, but politics does each and every one of you. And here's the other part. It doesn't do it to us equally. Marginalized peoples, indigenous peoples, have been the victim of climate injustice. We can look to Payette County and the fracking that has been happening in Idaho. Is everybody aware of all that? We just actually won a really huge victory, right? But we have to be clear. Why is it that these areas are the ones that are designated to destroy? And what are they designated to destroy for? Profit. These are poor communities, these are Latino communities, these are people who have not organized because they're fighting every day of their lives to just get by. And speculators use this vulnerability to strip from them their rights. We have a lot of changes. We need to make a lot of changes. And I want to talk to you mostly today about the political changes that must happen if we want to see the change that we need. We have a system that has been overtaken by special interests. Idaho is ranked 7th on the list of targeted states by ALEC, the policy machine of the Koch brothers. ALEC released a report not long ago claiming Idaho as its second greatest success across the country. Our lawmakers are groomed and paid to represent these special interests that are mining our rivers, that are fracking our lands, that are going into native lands for their profit. We have to come together, folks. We have to rise up in this moment and stand for one another. This is not a normal crisis, but it is a crisis that only we have the ability to avert. And for too long, we have averted our eyes. But the reality, the stark reality, is facing us now. We no longer have the ability or the option to avert our eyes. And it is going to take every single one of us rising up. What are we going to do? Rise up and demand the change that we need, and the change that we need to make sure that not just for our generation, but for generations to come, we leave our planet and our people better than where we came from. And we're not doing that right now. I want to talk to you a little bit about this notion of ally. Has everybody heard about being an ally? Being an ally to your planet, being an ally to your fellow? Think of ally not as a noun, not as a label, but as a verb. We are not, any of us, allies. We don't get to determine that for ourselves. Over the course of our lives, the actions that we take every moment we encounter injustice, that will determine when our lives are finished, whether we really were allies or not. This is a time of crisis. And it's a time that requires each and every one of us to do more. And I'm going to say to you, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to find out which candidates that are running right now actually support your values. There are some of them, but they're real people who rose up in this moment. Not political establishment folks, not seasoned candidates, but people who are rising up in this moment to represent us. And I want you to find out who they are, and I want you to go to work for them right now, and I want you to start having all of those conversations in your community and everywhere that you can, and I want you to get your car full of people, and I want you to go down on November 6th, and I want you to vote those people in. And it doesn't stop with the midterms. This is not a moment where we rise up to, elect folks during an election. This is a moment where we choose. Who will we be? Who will we say we were in this moment? How will people look on us? Will we be bystanders? Will we not have enough time or enough energy? Or will we rise up to meet the challenges of the day? To do everything that we can to protect our planet, to protect our neighborhoods, to protect our communities, and to lift each other up. There are a lot of things that we can do. We have a news media that is dominated, especially in Idaho, right, in places like Idaho across the country, that are projecting a narrative about who we are. And I'm telling you right now, I talk to people all the time, and that is not who we are. So pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write a letter to your editor. Keep those letters coming. Keep them in the press. Start telling the story. I work in Idaho Falls a little bit, and it's amazing to me because right after the Women's March, people came out and they said, "Oh my God, I had no idea that the couple living down the street from me shared the same political views as I did. For 20 years, I didn't know that." But when people started coming out into the streets, I started to see that I wasn't as isolated as I thought I was. That I wasn't so alone. And now, folks, we've got to do that. We've got to show up to rallies, right? We've got to let people know across the state that they are not alone. These are our values. They're not Republican values. They're not Democrat values. Right? These are human values. Right? These are human values. And there's no end to what each and every one of you can do. Now, we won't all do the same things, but that's okay, because if we all do something, that's how change happens. I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I want you to think about what it is, what one action it is that you will take today when you leave this rally. There's lots of information for how you can get involved. But we can no longer sit on the sidelines. We must rise up! We must! We must! We must! We must! We must! We must! And I know you will. So for everything that you've done to this moment, and for everything that you're going to do, thank you.